Welcome everyone. Today we are going to look into a fascinating case study that ties directly into our ongoing discussion on product accessibility in bottom of the pyramid markets. We will explore how a social enterprise, Warc Africa, successfully tackled the complex problem of making mechanized farming solutions accessible to smallholders farmer in Sierra Leone, a challenge that touches upon every aspect of accessibility from affordability and availability to usability and relevance. Now, why is this case so significant? Well, agriculture is backbone of Sierra Leone's economy and more than 60% of its population relies on a small scale farming for their livelihoods. Despite this, smallholder farmers face significant barriers to improving their productivity. One of the biggest hurdles is lack of access to modern farming equipment. So this case highlights the multi-dimensional approach which Warc Africa took to address these barriers and improve the lives of these farmers, making it a perfect example of how businesses can thrive in the BOP market by focusing on accessibility. So let's dive right in. Now, before we look at the solution, let's fully understand the problem. Picture this. In the rural villages of Sierra Leone, the majority of smallholders farmers work on plots of land that are less than 2 hectares in size. These farmers rely almost entirely on manual labor, which makes every stage of the farming process from preparing the land to planting and harvesting labor intensive, time consuming and exhausting. This manual approach significantly limits their productivity and ultimately their income. But this problem goes deeper than just hard work and low yields. The key issue here is accessibility. These farmers cannot access the modern tools they need to improve their productivity and break out of the cycle of poverty. Why so? Because of three major accessibility challenges. The first one, affordability. Tractors and other mechanized farming equipments are simply too expensive for most smallholder farmers who are earning less than $2 a day. The upfront cost of purchasing such equipment is overwhelming for farmers living below the poverty line. When a farmer is struggling to provide for their family's basic needs, like food and shelter, investing in costly agricultural equipment is far beyond their means. The cost of owning or renting a tractor, for instance, involves not only the initial purchase but also the ongoing expenses for fuel, maintenance, and repairs, which makes it nearly impossible for farmers to afford this. This financial barrier locks them in a vicious cycle of low productivity and low income because they have no means to increase their efficiency without access to this kind of advanced tools. It's a case of needing more income to afford the tools but needing the tools to generate that income. The second important element is availability. Even if a farmer somehow managed to save enough money, where would they go to buy these tools? The distribution system for farming equipment in Sierra Leone, as in many rural areas across Africa, are heavily skewed toward urban centers. Agricultural machinery like tractors, seeders, and harvesters are generally available in city stores, far removed from these isolated farming villages. Smallholder farmers who often live many kilometers away from the nearest town, are left without any practical means of accessing these tools. This lack of availability is a significant barrier because it not only limits access to the equipment but it also makes acquiring spare parts, technical support, and other essential services practically impossible for them. Rural roads are often poor and transportation costs are very high, making it prohibitively expensive for farmers to travel to urban centers in search of this equipment. The third element is usability. Let's say by some miracle, a farmer could afford the equipment and find a place to buy it also. How would they use it? Most smallholder farmers in Sierra Leone have never been exposed to mechanized farming techniques. So they lack the skills and experience which are needed to operate advanced machinery. The equipment that is available is usually designed for large scale farms, making it unsuitable for a small plot of land. This mismatch between the design of the machinery and the needs of the smallholder farmers means that even when equipment is available, it may not be practical or efficient for their specific context. Moreover, without proper training, farmers may misuse or mismanage this equipment, which will lead to frequent breakdowns or accidents. Once the machinery fails, the lack of local repair services compounds the problem, leaving farmers stranded without the resources to fix their equipment. This not only leads to financial losses, but it also undermines their trust in modern farming methods, making them hesitant to invest in mechanization in the future. These are the barriers that Warc Africa needed to address to make mechanized farming a viable option for smallholder farmers. And how they did this is nothing short of inspiring. How did Warc Africa approach this complex problem? They did not just try to sell tractors or the farming equipments to these farmers. Instead, they recognized the need to create a holistic solution that would make mechanized farming tools accessible, affordable, and easy to use for smallholder farmers. How they did it? First thing, affordability. They used pay-per-use mechanized services. Let's start how they are actually dealing with affordability because this was the most immediate challenge for them. Warc Africa knew that smallholder farmers couldn't afford to buy tractors outright. So instead of selling the equipment, they introduced a pay-per-use model for it. This allowed farmers to access the tools they needed without having to bear the full cost of ownership. How does this model actually work is during critical times in the farming season like land preparation or harvesting, farmers can rent tractors and other farming equipment for a fraction of the cost of owning them. They only pay for the service when they need it. Think of it as farming as a service, where farmers can access modern tools just when they need them the most. Now, this approach had multiple benefits. First, it made mechanized farming and the farming tools financially accessible to even the poorest farmers. Second, by spreading the cost over time, farmers were able to improve their productivity and increase their income, which further enhanced their ability to rent the equipment in future. And lastly, by not owning the equipment, farmers avoided the burden of maintenance and repair costs, which can be significant in rural areas. So, this pay-per-use model was not just a quick fix, it was a sustainable way to help farmers transition from manual labor to mechanized farming. Warc Africa designed a system that worked for the unique financial realities of smallholder farmers, ensuring that the solution was both practical and scalable. Second important concern was availability. So let's talk about availability. As I mentioned earlier, one of the big challenges was that traditional distribution channels simply did not reach remote rural farmers. Warc Africa understood that they could not just drop off tractors in the nearest city and expect farmers to come running. Instead, what they did is they built localized distribution networks. Here is how they actually did it. Warc Africa partnered with local farming cooperatives and community based organizations to manage the distribution and scheduling of the farming equipment. These cooperatives acted as the point of contact between Warc Africa and the farmers. By embedding the service directly into rural communities, Warc ensured that the equipment was always available when and where farmer needed it the most. In fact, this approach went even further by partnering with local cooperatives. Warc Africa not only made equipment available but also empowered these cooperatives to take ownership of this service. These local organizations were responsible for managing the rentals, maintaining the equipment, and training farmers on how to use the tools effectively. This decentralized approach reduced transportation and logistical challenges while building trust within the community. And this is an important point, which is trust. Farmers were more likely to use the equipment because they were dealing with people whom they knew and trusted within their own communities. Warc Africa's localized approach was not just about availability, it was also about building a system that farmers felt comfortable using. The third challenge was usability. Now let's move on how Warc Africa was able to solve usability issue. Warc Africa did not just dump high-tech tractors into rural communities and hope for the best. They took the time to understand the unique needs and limitation of smallholder farmers in Sierra Leone. What was the result? They came up with simplified, easy to use, and durable farming equipment that was specifically designed for small plots of land. The tractor and tools provided by Warc Africa were smaller and easier to operate than traditional farming equipment. This was crucial because most smallholder farms are less than 2 hectare in size, making large industrial scale equipment impractical to be applied. Warc Africa's tractors were designed to be compatible with the terrain and the size of the farms, ensuring that farmers could use them effectively and efficiently. But usability does not stop at the equipment itself. Warc Africa also invested heavily in training and support of the customer. They employed local experts to provide hands-on training to farmers, ensuring that they knew how to operate the equipment safely and efficiently. This training was not one-time event. It was an ongoing process with local experts available to assist farmers whenever they need it. Additionally, Warc Africa's established maintenance program to keep the equipment in good condition. In rural areas, one of the biggest challenges with mechanized farming is the breakdown of this equipment. Without proper maintenance, even the best tractors can become useless after few months. Warc Africa addressed this issue by setting up maintenance hubs within local communities, ensuring that the equipment was regularly serviced and repaired whenever necessary. This not only extended the lifespan of the equipment, but it also built confidence among farmers that the tools would work when they needed them most. The fourth element was sustainability. Warc Africa's model was not just about solving the immediate problem of accessibility, but it was also about creating long term economic sustainability for rural communities. By partnering with local cooperatives and community leaders, Warc Africa did not just provide equipment, but they created jobs and empowered local leaders to take control of the service. These local cooperatives were responsible for managing the equipment, training farmers, and ensuring that the service ran smoothly. This not only provided employment opportunity for community members, but it also strengthened the social fabric of the villages. Local ownership of the mechanized farming service meant that the benefits extended far beyond individual farmers. Whole communities were uplifted. What's more, the pay per use model was designed to be financially sustainable. The income generated from renting out the equipment was reinvested into maintaining and expanding the service, ensuring that it continued to operate long after the initial introduction phase. This was key to ensuring that the service could scale and reach even more and more farmers over the time. So let's see what are the outcomes of all this. What was the impact of Warc Africa's solutions? The result were nothing short of transformative, bringing about significant changes not only in the way smallholder farmers approached their work, but also in their overall livelihoods. These farmers, who once relied almost entirely on manual labor, were now empowered to farm larger plots of land with far greater efficiency. By introducing mechanized farming tools that were both affordable and easy to use, Warc Africa's unlocked the potential for these smallholder farmers to increase their productivity manifolds. Tasks that once took days to complete through physical labor could now be done in a fraction of the time, enabling them to optimize the use of their land and resources. This boost in productivity had a direct impact on the farmers' income levels. With more land, farmers in less time and greater crop yield, these farmers saw a substantial increase in their earnings. This, in turn, had a ripple effect on their quality of life, allowing them to provide better living conditions for their families, invest in the education of their children, and access better health care. Many of these farmers had previously been stuck in a cycle of subsistence farming, where they could barely grow enough to feed their families. Warc Africa's intervention changed that, giving them the ability to grow surplus crops and even sell produce in local markets. This shift allowed them to transition from survival mode to planning for the future, creating a sense of financial security that had previously been unattainable. By making mechanized farming tools accessible through affordable, localized, and easy to use services, Warc Africa effectively removed many of the barriers that had kept smallholder farmers trapped in the poverty. Access to affordable mechanization allowed these farmers to operate on a level playing field with a large agricultural enterprises, reducing the disparities between small and large scale farming. The tools provided by Warc Africa were designed with the specific needs of the local context in mind. They were easy to operate, reliable, and cost effective, which ensures that farmers could not only afford the equipment but also maintain it over time. Farmers who participated in the program consistently reported higher crop yields, which translated to better food security for their families. For many, this meant they no longer had to worry about where their next meal would come from or whether their children would go to the bed hungry or full. The psychological impact of this change was significant, as the constant stress and anxiety of food scarcity were replaced by a newfound sense of stability and the hope for the future. Another key benefit was that the availability and reliability of the mechanized tools allowed farmers to plan their farming activities more effectively. In the past, uncertainty about accessing tools or labor meant that farmers were often at the mercy of unpredictable factors, such as weather changes or the availability of seasonal labor. With Warc Africa's services, they were able to control these variables better, ensuring they had the right tools at the right time to maximize their planting and harvesting windows. This increased efficiency led to better crop management, reduced waste, and ultimately more predictable incomes. But the impact did not stop there. Warc Africa's model not only benefited the individual farmers, but it also had broader, far-reaching effect on the local economy. The introduction of mechanized farming and the services connected to it created new job opportunities in rural areas. As demand for these services grew, Warc Africa employed more local workers to maintain, distribute, and train farmers on how to use the equipment. This expansion of employment opportunities helped stimulate the local economy and also provided much needed income for many rural households. In addition to job creation, Warc Africa's approach strengthened local cooperatives. These cooperatives, which played a crucial role in organizing and supporting smallholder farmers, were empowered more active participants in the agricultural sector. They helped manage the distribution of mechanized tools, offered training and support to farmers, and served as intermediaries between the farmers and Warc Africa. This not only reinforced the sustainability of mechanized farming model, but it also fostered a sense of community ownership and responsibility, ensuring that the benefit of the program would endure in the long term. The success of Warc Africa's initiative in Sierra Leone soon caught the attention of other regions in West Africa. The model's effectiveness in improving productivity, increasing incomes, and fostering local economic growth made it a blueprint for agricultural development in similar context. With interest from neighboring countries, Warc Africa began to explore opportunities for expansion, aiming to bring its innovative approach to more smallholder farmers across the region. By scaling its operations, Warc Africa hopes to replicate its success and transform agriculture in other parts of West Africa, thereby providing that accessibility and innovation can truly unlock the potential of the BOP market. So, to conclude, Warc Africa's mechanized farming solution stands as powerful testament to how businesses can overcome accessibility barrier in BOP markets. The key to Warc Africa's success lies in its focus on the four pillars, which are affordability, availability, usability, and sustainability. By concentrating on these critical areas, Warc Africa did not just introduce a product, it has created an entire ecosystem that address the real challenges faced by smallholder farmers. The result was a model that not only improved productivity but also had a profound and lasting impact on the lives of individuals and communities. Warc Africa's approach demonstrates that businesses operating in BOP markets have the potential to do more than just offer a service or a product. They can become catalysts for economic growth and social development. In the case of Warc Africa, what began as a solution to enhance agricultural productivity evolved into a movement that empowered smallholder farmers, strengthened local economies, and built more resilient communities. It's a reminder that the needs of BOP consumers are not limited to low-cost solution, but it requires thoughtful, sustainable models that address the complexities of their environments. So, this case study of Warc Africa's strategy shows that with the right combination of innovation and commitment, businesses can truly make a difference in the lives of BOP consumers. They can drive not only economic growth, but they can also bring positive social change, reaching even the most remote and underserved population. So, I hope this deep dive into Warc Africa's transformative work has definitely given you a better understanding of how businesses can address accessibility challenges in BOP markets. So, thank you for following along with this session, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session. That's all for today. Thank you.